Hello guys. As you can see, I made a survey on my channel, where I asked you if you would have liked to see how to create a gated kick, or a peep kick. And the gated kick won. So, today I'm going to show you how to create a gated kick. First of all, I added on the master a fruity soft clipper, and a span, that I use for analyzing the frequencies. Now, let's go through the punch elements. This is the high punch. This is the bass punch. And this is the layer punch. All the elements together sound like this. To create the high punch I use this kick sample. I put the declicking mode on transient bleeding, and I cut it to make it sound like this. Now let's add some effects. I put an EQ to boost the mid frequencies. I put a Berserk distortion plugin, with the preset vocal distortion 1, to distort just a little bit the punch. Then, I added an OTT, with these settings, that completely changes the sound of the punch by the compression. After that I put another EQ, to cut the low frequencies and boost the mid ones again. I added a fruity fast dist, to distort a lot the punch. The punch could be done, but I improved it by adding another OTT with these settings, to make it punchier. And finally, I added a patcher with this reverb plugin, and I created an automation clip for the mix level, to make it sound like this. I wanted to say that, to make a gated kick, you don't have to copy my same punch. It's always better to be creative, and make a different punch with a different sound. To create the bass punch, I used this kick sample. Put the declicking mode on generic bleeding, lowered a little the volume of it, and cut it to make it sound like this. I haven't added any effects, but I created a volume automation clip, to make the bass fade to the tail. To create the layer punch, I took a kick sample. Put the declicking mode to transient bleeding, put it at lower volume, and I cut it to make it sound like this. I finally finished the punch. And now, let's go through the tail. The tail without any effect sounds like this. To create the tail, I used Citrus, and I made a simple sine wave. Now you're going to ask yourself, what the fuck is this? Let me explain. There are different ways to create the tail of a gated kick, and I found out my own technique to create one, which is putting random bass notes in the piano roll, to create this wobbling sound. You can obtain different tails by adding or removing a bass note. For example, I'll remove the G2 note. You can hear that the sound is different now. For the tail, I added a fruity compressor with these settings, to heavily compress it. And finally, I added this plugin which is called RBass, and it makes the bass more fat and heavy. Now, let's hear how the kick sounds with the punch and the tail together. The kick is 99% done, only one thing remains to do, adding more distortion on the master. Because the kick isn't fat enough to distort the kick, I used Fuzz plus 3, with these settings, to make it sound like this. And finally I added an EQ, to turn down the lower frequencies a little bit, because after the distortion, the bass became too invasive. Always remember to put these effects before the soft clipper. Thank you for watching the video. If this tutorial was useful, please leave a like, and if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications. If you arrived to this point of the video, Comment how much would you rate this kick from a scale that goes from 0 to 10.